America is the spiritual home of capitalism. It's a place of small government and big business. State-funded education, their public school system, is unusual, a $500 billion industry run by the state.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
On the next leg of my education road trip, I'm heading west to see the changing face of corporate America at school and seek out one of the big players who can tell me where the business of education is heading and what might be coming our way. To understand the American love affair with money, you've got to see it at its most naked. And there's one city that outstrips any other. It's the fastest growing city in America, a garish wonderland that's currently opening around a dozen new schools every year. We're in Las Vegas, and here, just like most US cities, corporations have a relationship with schools, and I'm off to see it in action. If I'm to find out the true link between American big business and the American education system, then obviously teachers are the people to ask. And where do you find teachers working on a Monday night in Las Vegas? In McDonald's. This is a McTeacher's night. The head of first grade's on the tills, there's a kindergarten teacher running the drive-thru, and the NQT is flipping burgers out the back. McDonald's will donate $1,000 of tonight's profits to their school funds. Got a very big head. Fantastic. I felt it my duty to pitch in. Is that a teacher hiding there? No. Can I offer any assistance? Can I help you? Can you give me something to do?
I don't know what I'm doing, so.
I love it, but it's different. It's a great thing. It's just showing that we're all there together. We're working for one thing, and that's the kids.
Would you do anything for your school, basically?
Oh, sure. It's really all about the students and trying to get them to succeed.
When they noticed I was proving to be a disruptive presence amongst the staff, I got a sudden demotion to table cleaning duty. It was interesting, that guy standing at the counter, because I thought he was a kind of reluctant McDonald's worker, because they were offering a platform to fundraise for the school. In fact, he saw it as a kind of outreach opportunity. Parents didn't come in through the school gates very often. By working in a restaurant where they all went to at least once a month, they actually got to eyeball their teacher. There's no sign of the awkwardness that would accompany this bizarre scene if it were to take place in Britain. This kind of thing is completely normal in the US and fits perfectly with the mildly hallucinogenic world of Las Vegas. This town is awash with money. But of course, the losers have to pay for the winners. One of the big losers here is education. Nevada's business-friendly low taxes give this state some of the worst funded schools in America. At under $6,500 per child every year, it's less than half what some states spend. Fortunately, the United States has a powerful culture of philanthropy. That's how the cash-rich casinos got involved with the poorly funded Las Vegas schools. Next morning, I headed out to one of the city's poorest neighbourhoods to visit a school that has tapped into the wealth of corporate giving. I arrived just in time for assembly, Vegas style. Paul Cully Elementary School has landed a major corporate sponsor to help boost its resources. MGM Mirage, owner of 11 casinos and the biggest single employer in the entire state. They provide a gift of $50,000 each year, but also donate large amounts of staff time and give access to company resources. Principal Lisa Primus is always delighted to welcome her corporate guests.
Special business partners in the house, MGM Mirage.
Presumably this relationship isn't to train up junior gamblers?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. The MGM Mirage has been very kind. Because we are in a demographic area of a lot of poverty, they donated 1,500 backpacks filled with school supplies. We have a 14% unemployment in this zip code. So MGM Mirage held a job fair for even the parents just to get them into some basic housekeeping or basic custodial jobs within their framework. So they are assisting us, and then we're going to assist them and give them great citizens to work in the industry.
That's fantastic. So they're not training junior gamblers, they're actually training people to take money off other schmucks that come to time and too much as members of the organisation.
Of course.
Fantastic.
In Las Vegas.
I'd been invited to join a 5th grade field trip on a bus funded by MGM. Although the strip is only a 15-minute ride from the school, many of the children have never actually been here, and almost none of them have been inside the most extravagant casino in Vegas. This is the garden of MGM's Bellagio. Vegas is a bit short on public parks, so this lavish horticultural laboratory really is an oasis in the desert for an enthusiastic teacher.
These are daffodils, and if you gather up close, look for the pistil and the stamen in those. They're pretty easy to find.
Right in the middle.
Right in the middle. You can't.
I asked Head of Community Affairs, Poonam Mathur, why MGM chose to give a chunk of its profits to education.
A vibrant public education system in a community has a very real impact on employers. There are many states in this country that are woefully underfunding education. We have dropout rates that are rising at an alarming rate. We have people who are emerging from public education ill-prepared for the world in which they will be working. So at the end of the day, the country is falling behind. Nevada's falling behind.
Do you think people confuse business involvement with a desire to control something?
Oh, I think that's a common misperception, and a rather unfortunate one. Public education is not something that belongs to educators. It is something that must belong to the community. The challenges are so big, the cost of failure is so high, that we've all got to be part of making it better. So this whole notion of who owns it and who's therefore butting in is really a silly paradigm to view something as critically important.
Elsewhere in town, there are a handful of schools in which business has a far greater stake. They're running them for profit. I'm heading to see one of 6 state-funded Vegas schools which have been subcontracted to the commercial school operator Edison. Edison are the largest of several corporations running state schools in America. They have 97 schools in 20 states. They've also just taken over their first state school in Britain. The company's birth has not been an easy one, although all seems calm as you arrive at Edison Kalan Elementary. Although it's still a state school, the entire operation of the place is managed by Edison. They're responsible for the buildings, the books, the curriculum, and the academic performance. In return, Edison are allowed to take some of the state funding they receive as profit. For their money, they're expected to help turn around failing urban schools. The forthright principal, Dr. Jean Jackson, was keen to have them on board.
Okay.
Did you worry that you were kind of surrendering a little bit of your control?
Oh, absolutely not. I saw that as an opportunity to exert a little more control, take charge. You know, I was here prior to Edison, thought I was working pretty smart and pretty hard, but we weren't making the kind of progress that I thought we should make, so I was looking for help. Edison didn't buy us, we bought Edison. So they're not running us. We're still educators educating children. It's just now we have the resources to do the best job that we can do.
3 injustices, 1 you see at home.
The Edison deal included an investment of $1.5 million philanthropic dollars, but they also brought their own integrated curriculum, an extended school day, and a very rigorous approach to testing. This place is an accountant's paradise. One of the things you really notice is the fascination with data. These children, like those in every Edison school, take benchmark tests in reading and maths every month. You can't escape. The performance figures are everywhere.
This is a class. Mathematics, reading, language, arts. But most teachers dread their performances being revealed at the end of the year. This school, it's staring them in the face every day they go into work.
The benchmark results are even posted like a patient's hospital bed notes on the back of the kids' chairs.
How does it make you feel, with the benchmark system, with all the results of individual pupils in your class, going to head office, being looked at and analysed?
Well, it keeps you on your toes, that's for sure, because you're always looking at them to see how you do, and if you go down, you have to immediately question, and Dr. Jackson, our principal, is really good at kind of coming to us saying, what happened in reading this month? I see you guys went down about 5%, and so, but like I said, it keeps you accountable to make sure that you're hitting the skills that the students need to know.
The figures here are pretty good. Callan has won a national award for its improved results. But not all Edison schools have been so successful. Since 2002, the company has lost a third of the schools they took over, and the financial figures have been appalling. I wondered whether Dr. Jackson was concerned that she'd hitched her school's fortunes to a business with such a volatile financial history.
I think you're always tied to someone when you're trying to run any organization. The money has to come from somewhere. The fact that it comes from Edison or the fact that it comes from the district, I don't know that it matters.
So how can you make sure that sort of for the next 5 years, every time you knock on the Edison door, they'll say, what do you want? Here it is.
I can't.
Why is that? Why can't you?
Well, I can't guarantee anything. I'm not sure where the money comes from. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I guess that's not my place to ask.
Edison's founder, Chris Whittle, has been on a turbulent journey with his mold-breaking business venture. Investors' belief in the project saw Edison reach a valuation of over $2 billion in the year 2000. But 3 years later, this faith had evaporated and the share price had plummeted to almost zero. Thomas Tock is an education writer who's been following Edison and Whittle's progress from the start.
Very well. Chris Whittle is a great salesman, and he convinced Wall Street that investors could make a lot of money in a field that was wide open, in great need of improvement, worth hundreds of billions of dollars. But the company struggled to execute its pretty thoughtful and well-respected education plan. The company ultimately never made any money.
Grassroots opposition to privatization didn't help either.
Edison is largely poisonous to many school people. It's radioactive. But while it may not succeed, it has helped to transform the way that Americans think about public education, the delivery of public education.
The Edison project has opened the door to far greater business involvement in state schools. But I've been told that if we're going to see some of the really big fish in educational waters, we need to leave the desert and head for the coast. This is Los Angeles, California. I've heard that if I want to understand the changing relationship between business and education, there's one local family that I should speak to. The Milken brothers, Lowell and Michael, are big beasts of the corporate jungle with more than a passing interest in education. I'm very keen to meet them, but I'm not sure whether the feeling's mutual. You know the old cliche about my people will talk to your people? Well, the Milken brothers are so powerful that they actually do have people, and quite formidable people, who we're negotiating with at the moment to see if we can get an interview. The brothers made their fortune in the corporate bonanza of the 1980s. Their philanthropic Milken Family Foundation gives millions of dollars to schools. But the two also have a huge portfolio of investments in educational business ventures. The Milkens are founders and major shareholders in K-12, the commercial company behind this local school. It's a regular state-funded school, but although it has over 5,000 pupils and 220 teachers, the corridors are strangely quiet. What better example of Silicon Valley educational innovation than a virtual school? The classrooms are scattered across California, and the Academy has managed to dispense with expensive school buildings because the children learn in their own homes. And the teachers don't have to supervise the kids either.
So you're going to name your angle by...
In the Gabston Howell household, the learning is supervised by Dad,
That's the
Alan.
name.
The real teachers provide most of their support from the other end of the broadband cable. This is the business world's highly efficient product for parents like Alan and Annie, who are unhappy with the regular state schools.
We sent them down the road to the local school, and it seriously interfered with our ability to educate them. Schools are meant to produce little people who are just like all the other little people around them, and children should be individuals. My children, being weird, are going to be individuals, which means at the local school they stick out, and not in any positive way.
Step-by-step instructions for making each project.
Interactive learning, online testing. The K-12 program is rather impressive and appears to be no trouble for the E-generation.
And what's the most difficult part of working online in a virtual school like this?
Nothing really hard, just a click away is a lesson.
Well, sometimes, without any teachers around, it does get to be a pain to teach yourself. But I have books and my dad to ask for any help.
To your friends, what do they think of your virtual school online?
Well, actually, I only told one of my friends. His name is Alasia, I think it was. I've been so away from my friends a long time, so I don't even remember the names.
Did you have any misgivings about using a for-profit organisation to educate your kids?
There were some thoughts about that, of course. Are their motives going to be correct? Is what they produce going to be correct for my child? Instinctively, we're suspicious of business. We look at business, we see what business does, and business has a profit motive. That doesn't necessarily mean quality is going to be job one, to grab the old Ford line. But we can turn our backs on it. We don't have to participate in this, and that is a vote. In the public schools, you are not going to get that same vote component. You don't have that same voice.
Alan and Annie seem genuinely happy at the choice they've made for their kids, although I couldn't help wondering how it would work in the hands of more time-pressed parents. The Virtual Academy is a charter school, the US forerunner of our academies. These form part of the state system, but have more freedom to innovate. And in many states they're allowed to contract out the whole operation to a profit-making service provider like K-12. Their business-like efficiency runs from the bottom to the top. The California Virtual Academy head office actually runs 6 large schools, and Jim Conance is principal of all of them. He believes that technology has the power to transform the teaching too.
You know, the real power in this is that no matter what you do and how well prepared you are as a teacher, you can still teach algebra using virtual education. You know, you don't have to understand algebra to do this. You just have to coach the learning that goes with it, because the computer will drive all the facts and everything else that you need and all the processes and all the understanding. So one of these things with teacher shortage is the preparation of teachers. You know, some teachers are very good at some things and not so good at others, you know, but this is kind of the normalizer. So, you know, these are the options, and I think this is how parents are going to shop in the future. And I think public education will be a marketplace in the future, shopping and advertising and working with families to make those choices.
But the business of education is not all about sweating assets. Sometimes even the corporate big boys like to be part of something special. And that's what High Tech High is all about. And there's a familiar name in foot-high letters above the door.
There's that man again, Lowell Milken.
The Milken Foundation was the biggest single donor in the setting up of High Tech High. It's another charter school, but this one is a charity funded by business donations. This is corporate philanthropy again, but here business has a far more direct involvement in the education itself. The curriculum and the teaching has been adapted to serve their needs. Principal Marcia Rybin explained how it came about.
How and why did big business get involved in setting up of High Tech High, Marcia?
Well, High Tech High, we're a replication of a school in San Diego called High Tech High. And they actually came from business, where the round table in San Diego said, our kids just are coming out, they're not educated, we can't find workers, people don't know how to collaborate with each other, they don't know much about technology, they're not particularly good in the work environment, they have no experience, even when they come from college. So why don't you make a school that will address those issues?
So what was it about the curriculum that set the school apart?
Well, the curriculum is, you know, reading, writing, and arithmetic, you know, but the fact that we integrate technology into all the classes all the time, and there's a great emphasis on presentations of what you're learning and defending what you're presenting to people that you don't know. We have business people come in and evaluate the students, and it's good. It's a good model.
It was founder and executive director, the colourful Roberta Weintraub, who persuaded the businesses to part with their money to create this extraordinary place.
It's fantastic. It's a very unschool-like space. Do you know what I mean? Kind of green flourishing.
Well, I thought we could have wedding receptions out here if we wanted to.
So this is your donor wall?
This is a donor wall of the original donors. There's Apple and Hewlett-Packard, you know.
NEC.
Yeah, I mean, these are some of the big companies.
Roberta had identified another major benefit corporations could gain from their generosity.
They wanted a showplace for, you know, what's happening in the world of technology and how well it can be done. You know, lots of times they will want to be selling a certain product and they want a place to showcase it, so they'll come by here with their people that they're trying to sell to. I mean, we have just about every new product on the market for education is within the scope of this school.
And in terms of maintaining that kind of standard and keeping that investment up, that can't be cheap either, I guess.
No. I keep fundraising all the time. I always have my hand out.
This school is producing impressive results for the 300 lucky students who get in. But with such extravagant facilities, it's hard to imagine that business could justify funding hundreds of high-tech highs. Corporate generosity will only go so far. Our persistence with the Milken people finally paid off. Lowell Milken has agreed to give us an audience, so we're heading down to the Family Foundation offices set just off the exclusive Santa Monica beachfront.
Hi Lowell, how you doing?
Hi,
Peter
good
Curran.
afternoon.
Yeah, lovely to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Pull up a chair. It's been, well, an eye-opener to say the least.
So we've seen two examples of education projects that you're involved in. High Tech High, made possible by a massive donation by yourself. And then we've seen K-12, which is a commercial operation. Should education be a charity or a profitable business?
Well, I think the most important thing is education should be about delivering the best possible experience for young people. And I think that it's incumbent upon all of us to try to find innovative types of approaches so every child can reach their own potential. So I don't believe there is one approach.
That's called hedging your bets, isn't it?
No, it's not called hedging your bets. It's called facilitating creativity and innovation. That's what it's called. And at the same time, putting in resources to try to continue to improve our public schools.
Do you think it's slightly blinkered or naive for people to rail against education being a for-profit business, given that healthcare and many other things have gone down that route?
I think that the system is going to have to change. Public education has served this country well for a very, very long time. It's really been, I think, more crystallized in the last quarter century, where we have found that public education in many instances is not providing a quality education for many students. And frankly, if it can't perform to those levels, then we are going to have to introduce other types of innovative approaches.
What's the future model for education in the state over the next 10 years?
I don't believe in the United States that one approach will ever fit all. That's not the nature of the way our educational system has developed. And when it's very local in operation and so on, I think it needs to permit different types of approaches.
We're back to the old freedom of choice, which is at the center of everything, I suppose, in an ideal world.
Well, I think the freedom of choice has been a hallmark of American society. I think it's just very incumbent, it's very representative of Americans that they do like to have choice. And if you're not providing value to families, they're going to pursue other opportunities.
It is surprising in such an unashamedly capitalist country that free market choice hasn't hit the state education system sooner. It's clear that businesses now see an increasing opportunity in schools, but an opportunity to make a difference for the kids or an opportunity to make a buck. Let us into your classrooms, they tell you, and we can do both.